I live in British Columbia and my family often hosts at our home because we live on a lake. However, I always get roped into watching the kids, which means I don't get to enjoy my life when we have guests. My husband will drink beer with his brother and dad, and my mother-in-law and sister-in-law will go on winery visits. I end up at the house responsible for my nieces and nephews. So last weekend I ensured I was under the influence when they showed up. My husband and his brother had to watch the kids because I was in no condition. Their mom is angry with me because she trusts me to make better choices. I told her my free time was valuable and I wasn't free childcare. My husband had already had a few, so his brother had to stay sober. Oh, the poor baby. My husband thinks I should have tried talking to them again for the 50th time instead of getting trashed. They now know better than to not ask me if I even want to watch the kids. I might be the idiot because I know they count on me to be the responsible one who will ensure the kids don't drown. Not the idiot, and your hubby is the biggest idiot. He was just as happy with the previous scenario because he still got to drink and socialise while you were held hostage to the expectation of forced babysitting duties. He didn't even remain sober to help you watch his nieces and nephews. He had the same expectation as his family. He could drink and schmooze while you chased the kids. And isn't he just such a great guy to bring a babysitter for the family? He got all the benefits and goodwill of doing the family a favour while you were stuck with the actual work of it. He should have stopped it from day one, and if he was the one who was stuck with the kids from the beginning, he would have. Bravo for your creative solution, OP. LOL, totally agree. Bravo, chef kiss. Oh no, Dad can't get drunk with the boys because you beat him to it. It's not fair. Wah, stomp stomp. Not the idiot, of course. Trusted you to make better choices. You did make the better choice. Ha ha ha. I don't understand why mother-in-law is calling only you out or why she and sister-in-law get to leave. Why isn't she calling out her sons? You have a misogynistic mother-in-law problem and a husband problem if he hasn't stopped his family. Your husband should be going to bat for you and saying, my wife is not free childcare. Everyone has to ask and see, not assume, if she can watch the kids. Further, you should go out with your friends and plan fun things when brother-in-law comes over with his kids to hang out at your house. You deserve to enjoy your free time also. This is some strange in-law Cinderella game here. I find it weird that mother-in-law and sister-in-law travel to OP's place, accept, I assume, free accommodation and meals are prepared in addition to the babysitting, and they never invite OP on their girl trip to the wineries. I know it's because then no one will be there to play babysitter, maid and chef, but if it was my house, I would say no more hosting or no more favourites. They can pick. That is BS. You are the idiot, OP. Are you 12? Why can't you communicate instead of being so petty? What will you do the next time they visit? This is pretty pathetic. If you don't want to babysit, no is a full sentence. Your husband is an idiot and he should be backing you on this. If they don't stop lumping you with the kids, they don't get to stay at your house anymore. Stop being a doormat. Learn to communicate and set boundaries. I would stop hosting the family if I were in your shoes, and reconsider your marriage ASAP because your husband has no respect for you. My husband and I have a teen daughter together. Let's call her Maisie. He also has a nearly adult daughter with his ex. Let's call my stepdaughter Danielle. For some reason, Danielle hates Maisie. It's like she hates sharing her dad with anyone. She never accepted me or Maisie, even though I've been in her life since she was 1. My husband bought a car for Danielle when she turned 16. We asked her if she could take Maisie to school with her because the schools were closed, but she refused to do so. That's not a problem. The problem happened yesterday. Maisie walks to school every day. Yesterday, she sprained her ankle on her way back home. She saw Danielle driving by and waved for her to stop. Danielle stopped and asked her if she was hurt. She said yes. Danielle said okay and left. She left. Maisie had to walk back home like that. I was seeing red when I heard what happened. To be honest, I couldn't tolerate her behaviour anymore, so I asked my husband to just send her to live with her mom for a while. This is not the first time that she's done something like that, and I'm so tired of her. My husband, of course, thinks I'm an idiot for suggesting that. So am I? Let me recap. You want to get rid of a child because you don't like how she acts? This is a time for parenting, not banishment. Something's missing here. Kids rarely have an inherent dislike for someone that supposedly raised them before they can even remember. Usually such dislike is influenced by how they're treated by the person or by things they find out about the person. For example, if you and her dad got together through having an affair, I could understand her dislike for you. Random possibilities aside, parents don't just get to send their kids away when they're having trouble with them. Have you tried everything from suggesting therapy to trying to bond with her? You know what's missing? 3-year age difference between the girls. OP, how long after he dumped his ex did he meet you, or was there an overlap? That would explain that for some reason, BS. I'm sure Danielle feels like Maisie replaced her. I think that for 3 years you acted like a mom toward Danielle. Still then, when Maisie was born, you completely ignored Danielle in favour of your real daughter. Has she had therapy? Jesus, you are the idiot, OP, because of what you did. I don't think you can fix it. Everyone's the idiot is the way to go here. Your punishment doesn't fit the crime and it makes you the idiot. Your stepdaughter is an idiot for pulling that stunt. She's nearly an adult. If this is the normal decision process for her, then she's going to be a drain on society and a terrible adult. It's best to learn now, but some people just need to go through stuff. Your husband is the biggest idiot. Your daughter's decision-making ability didn't arise in a vacuum. What she did was terrible and your husband has allowed her to get to that point. Bio mom, not addressing Danielle's actions, attitude along with dad. The only one clean in this instance is your daughter, who sprained her ankle. And no, being 17 is no free pass for mistakes or bad decisions because of being a kid. That is an excuse. They're old enough to drive, which can kill people, and a year away from being an adult. They have the decision-making capabilities to choose colleges, find jobs, etc. Perfect time to learn the standards that go with decision-making. My kindergartner brother doesn't like loud noises. It scares him intensely and will make him hide underneath a table or bed for hours. We're doing our best, but it's hard. His fear is getting worse. He doesn't have autism or anything like that either. We talked to doctors and stuff about it. We were invited to a dinner which we went to. Sure, they can be loud, but my brother can handle regular people's noise. It's the loud booming sort of sounds that terrify him. Say fireworks, thunder, loud barking, or sometimes when people speak into a mic or something. Well, my dad and some of his uncles and cousins were watching some sports game and got carried away. They screamed when someone scored and it freaked my brother out so severely that I genuinely thought he was having a seizure or something. He was sitting on one of my cousins, so he was right in the middle of it and it overstimulated him or something. Dad immediately picked him up and comforted him, and my one uncle rolled his eyes and went, "That's a bit dramatic." Mom tried explaining that he has an issue with loud noises, but my uncle wasn't having it for some reason, and said that it didn't matter and that the kid made things awkward. Mom said she was sorry and tried ending the conversation, but my uncle was all like, "Don't take him out of the house if he's going to throw a tantrum over some people cheering. This is the real world and people don't tolerate kids like they used to." Mom said she wasn't keeping her son inside all day for his and other people's comfort over something uncontrollable, but my uncle wasn't letting it go. He kept calling my parents irresponsible for letting my brother's behavior go on for so long. He said it was making him resent his nephew. I said, "You're 40 years old beefing with a little kid. Go home." He immediately said that was rude. He then told my mom that they were really terrible parents, but he shut up and eventually went home with his wife, who lectured me about being disrespectful as well. Everyone else was like, "It's okay, we understand," but my grandma yelled at me later and told me that I'm not allowed to talk to my uncle like that. Apparently I'm stupid because we all know my uncle isn't good at putting himself in other people's shoes. I should have been the bigger person. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your uncle is a damn idiot, and there's nothing wrong with sticking up for your brother and saying what you said. He should stay home if he can't handle not shouting for a couple of hours to avoid upsetting a literal child. Your grandmother is mistaken. Clearly you can talk to your uncle that way. I can tell you can because you did. Also, we all know my uncle isn't good at putting himself in other people's shoes. Yeah, there's a term for that. It's called being a self-centered idiot. Wait, your grandmother defended her 40-year-old son's idiosyncrasies but won't defend her young grandson's? That is so screwed up. Also, your uncle, a 40-year-old adult, isn't good at putting himself in other people's shoes. Still, he basically is expecting a young child to do that and not react according to his own instincts when it's inconvenient for your uncle. And your parents let him call them names and criticize their parenting. Is he a billionaire or something and there's hope of a windfall? Because I would never let this jerk behave this way in my home. Keep cutting him down until he either learns to empathize or learns to keep quiet. And you can tell your grandma that too. Good on you for standing up for your little brother. Maybe he's neurodivergent in a different way. It's not uncommon for kids not to show more traits until they're older with autism. Not saying he definitely is, but I wouldn't write it off entirely. It might well be PTSD, a reaction to something that happened to him instead of a neurodivergent type of thing. But it's hard to exactly pinpoint what the issue is. Anyway, there's no point in being the bigger person to someone who's trying to shame a child. My family and my brother's family visited my parents at their vacation home for Memorial Day weekend. I noticed that my normally energetic nephew, teen, seemed very upset at something. I pulled him aside and asked if there was anything wrong. He told me that his parents promised to buy him the Lego Roman Colosseum. His nephew is a huge ancient history buff if he did well in school. But when the package arrived, they said he should be a good brother and let his sister, tween, help. My nephew told them that having his sister help was pointless since she was completely non-verbal and has a habit of kicking things when upset. As a result, my nephew had his Lego set returned for talking back and being disrespectful. After we went back home, I asked my brother if what my nephew said was true. He said that it was. I then asked if my nephew said anything, e.g. calling his sister a vegetable, beyond calling the idea of letting his sister help ridiculous. He said no. I told my husband that I was seriously considering buying my nephew the Lego Roman Colosseum for his upcoming birthday in August, as my brother and sister-in-law were completely ridiculous. My husband agreed that my brother and sister-in-law were being ridiculous, but didn't like the idea of me replacing the returned Lego set. He said I would undermine their parenting and provoke an unneeded conflict between our two families. As an aunt, this is what I would do. Buy it and put it in a closet. Give it to him in a few years when your nephew is older and living on his own. If he doesn't want it, you can resell it. If he does want it, it will mean the world to him. In that future time, it may also open the door to a heart-to-heart conversation about not agreeing with his parents, but recognizing they were acting out of denial of a painful reality. Unfortunately, from what you've described, your nephew will probably be estranged from his parents in the future. I've seen similar situations in a friend's family, and it, the denial of disability, ultimately damaged the family. But your husband is right, you are the idiot if you intervene now. The Lego won't change the reality of your nephew's situation. Sorry. I disagree. As an aunt, I would buy it and have it at my house for him. Invite him over for the weekend, just him, and have fun building it with him if he wants the help. I am the aunt that has purchased extra gifts for my niece and nephew because my brother and sister-in-law decided to let Santa be the parent and use the naughty list to try to control their very young kids. My niece was upset when I asked her if she was excited for Santa to come to her house, and she said he wasn't coming because she was on the naughty list. So yeah, screw that crap. I bought them extra gifts that year, and Santa accidentally delivered them to my house where we were having Christmas. That's what I would do. You know, give the parents a break for the weekend and have him do it at your house. I absolutely hate when children can't have something for themselves. The worst part of it all, even worse than forcing him to share, is that they essentially went back on their word. The deal was, do well in school, get the Lego set. He accepted and delivered. They did not. Amending their agreement to include your sister or else was a jerk move, a bait and switch. The kid will learn that the parents' words and promises mean nothing. The kid may end up resenting the sister too. So my roommates found out my big secret. I've been renting a house with 3 other girls, Stacey, Lynn and Rebecca. We're in year 1 of a 2-year lease together and have always gotten along. A few weeks ago, I found some pictures from my wedding and I was so happy that I posted them. A few hours later, my Facebook notifications were blowing up and I had several missed calls from my roommates. I didn't realize that, but they somehow didn't know and they're not happy. I don't understand this. They said that I lied to them by bringing another roommate in and have completely changed the dynamics of the house. I haven't though. My husband and I got married at 18 before I even started college. For practical reasons, we decided not to live together until I finished school and had the chance to gain some work experience. I've never had him visiting me any more than any other roommate had an overnight guest. I also lived with Stacey and Rebecca during college, and quite honestly, they had men over way more than he was ever there. Even now, while we do spend all of his leaves together and I make trips out as often as possible, it would never be anything that would violate a standard lease. They say it doesn't matter because he had the legal right to live here and I just blindsided them with that, putting them in an awkward position. Rebecca's parents are mad I was ever living with them because I'm in a different life stage. I didn't. They obviously know he's the only person I have a romantic relationship with. They know I take long trips to see him and talk to him as much as possible. I wear a wedding ring. I just don't make announcements. They're so mad at me and I don't understand. I'm not different than I was 3 weeks ago. I don't think how I conduct my personal relationships changes anything. Aside from obviously having different men or women around all the time, my life isn't different from theirs. Now they're looking into breaking the lease and I'm freaking out. Am I really the idiot here? Not the idiot. You didn't keep your husband a secret. They've met him and they know you travelled to see him. You wear a wedding ring. Do you also wear an engagement ring? I imagine your husband wears a wedding ring. What on earth did they think your wedding ring was? They have a brain and can speak. One would think that after all this time they would have asked you why you wear a wedding ring. Why do you think he has a legal right to live there? His name isn't on the lease. He has no more right to live there than their boyfriends do. I think they've been misinformed that simply because they're married, he has a legal right to live on the property, which is inaccurate. I cleared that up with them ASAP. A pretty open secret. They've met him, they wear wedding rings. Who did they think he was? I'm surprised by all the animosity. I kept having to go back and ensure I didn't miss the part where you moved him in. Is it possible they're just hurt because you weren't completely honest with them? It does seem odd you've never once said, "my husband," but I have a co-worker who calls her husband Jeff, so I was a little surprised. But her marriage is not my business. Your roommates sound as if they chase drama and are reveling in their outrage and victimhood over this. Kind of ridiculous. The things people get upset about. Jeez.